There is nobody in life, regardless of your attributes, your connections, wherever you are, that does not get stories from our experiences, our pains, our sorrows, our joys, and so on. And so our stories are embedded in us.
You see, storytelling, I don't want to repeat what have been said before. It's absolutely one of the most important things that we must learn in this. If we don't learn it, we are always going to struggle. Because if we know how to tell our story, there is no wall we cannot penetrate. At the end of Second World War, it is the story that we told that makes sure that those walls came down in Berlin. But guess what? How did those walls get built in the first place? It was also because of story.
I, from a long time, realized the power that is storytelling. And that's what really led me into doing what I'm doing today, which is using stories to help brands change the mundane, sort of rather boring content types that they have out there.
Hi, I'm Obehi, the author of the storytelling series for small businesses and content creators. In Obehi podcast, we talk about the power of your story, your narrative, and why you should own your voice. Whether you are a small business owner, a content entrepreneur, or you simply want to build your influence, storytelling is probably going to be your best instrument to connect with your audience. So join the awakened few who are owning their voices. Now let's get started with today's episode. All right, I want to thank all of you that are joining us. I'm really very happy to see all of you here. The many beautiful faces, which means that people are really interested in the conversation of storytelling. Particularly, of course, what we have today is how to increase your audience engagement. So that is a sign that this is valid as a conversation that we are having today. I'm not going to spend much time like I usually do, where I talk about the background of the story, because I believe that most of you already know where this storytelling series is coming from. This five-part books that talks about how to use storytelling in your business and in whatever you are doing, that you are dealing with other human beings. Because human beings, we are cultural animal, we are social animal. Let me put it that way. That the only way we would like to connect to other people if there is something that connect us, sort of that we can resonate with in the life or in the experiences of other people. So the best way to do this have been for several thousands of years story. But when we tell story, we go touch some those elements like emotion, those similitude, similarity, those things that make you look like another person, those things that maybe you hear somebody slapping another person, then you can almost feel the pain in you. That are things that are responsible for that. And that is why storytelling always work, because you are just a human being that look like another human being. So whatever is happening to that human being, there is a tendency of you feeling that thing happening to you. So you need somebody that is able to make the connection, and therefore you can sort of leverage it almost all the time. All right, just so I can touch it a bit, I am originally from Nigeria. My name is Obehi Ewanfo, and I'm living in Verona. So if you have read the book Romeo and Juliet, of course, with the great work that Shakespeare did for the Italian people, because that book is it has become. If I'm talking about storytelling again, I want to touch that book shortly, the Romeo and Juliet. You see, the city of Verona is making a lot of money from just that story that was written by Shakespeare. But what do I mean by that? Let me just touch it a bit. You see, there is a number of hotels in the city of Verona that are built based on the fact that people are going to come to visit the statue of Romeo and Juliet. That is one story. There are bars, There are different type of things. There are shops where they do all kind of design. You come, they design a kind of a hand towel or a paper printed Romeo and Juliet or near Romeo and Juliet. So that's one story have led to a lot of opportunity in Italy. So, like I was saying before, storytelling is actually very powerful. If you tell your story very well, you can build your business around it. Just your ability to tell that story. So when I come to Italy, I arrived here in the August of 2004, which was actually that is a couple of years ago now. So my curiosity, because I've been very curious as a human being, was to learn about the people that are living in this country like me. Who are they? Why did they come here? What has been their experiences? Because like I said before, I understand that I am just like another person. So I want to understand their story. So having spent a number of years gathering this story together, analyzing them, producing some of them as documentary, producing some of them as book, or some of them are just article, I have come to understand a bit about the power of storytelling. So this is why sometime last year I decided to pull this work together and say, okay, let me share with other people what I've learned. So this is how this five-part book series came about. I just put my experiences there. Of course, go around to also research, read other books, read what other people have already said about the idea or the topic of storytelling. That is what it is about. It's about sharing the knowledge that we have gathered about a specific topic so that other people can also benefit from it. So today we are talking about storytelling. We are talking about how to engage with people, how to better engage with people if you want to like that. And storytelling is one of that powerful element that help us that. If you can help another person to understand this, the similarity between you and that individual, then that person can develop a feeling for you. So it's not something that you just want to shift aside, particularly if you are in business and you want to better connect with your audience.
So I'm Enio Sung. My company is Global Media. My commitment is to make my clients, my friends who do amazing things famous. That way they can sell more. Many different ways we do that. So I have friends, partners who have media opportunities. I put my friends and clients towards those people. So if I can get you on TV, on radio, then I certainly take the chance. If I can make you really famous, like I say, the more people know you, the more they buy from you. If I can't put you on TV, radio, and magazines, then we look at digital methods. So we do what I call the fame and leads package, which essentially means putting you in front of thousands of your target audience every month. And then that way they get to know you. So we use email for that. We'll send thousands of emails on your behalf. And then we also do ads where we put you in front of people looking for you on Google, on social media, on YouTube, wherever your clients are looking, we'll put you in front of, even if that's Amazon. I said mention Amazon because if you've written a book, then you're my best friend. If you want to write a book, I love you even more. So before I talk about the book, now let me quickly talk about this audio rooms. Now my thing is putting these audio rooms on. So when I meet people who do amazing things like Obehi, who's written a book, I'm like, let's do an audio room. And here we are. Yeah, Obehi. Whilst we're here, 93 plus 9, what's that? 102. Yay. Okay. So, in a week, I've reached over 100 twice now. That's my goal. 94 plus 9, even better. So, I've achieved my dream for the week already. So my dream to get to 100 people in a room, and we got it this time. I thank all my co-hosts. I thank all of you for being here, for making that happen for me. Yay. Anyway, right. So this audio rooms now, I love to do audio rooms because I think it's the best way to get you in front of 100 people now who listen to you, hear you, get to know, like, and trust you, and want to do business with you. That's how this audio rooms really work. So we tend to help you to organize the room, fill the room, plan the room, co-host if you want us to. Otherwise, we make it happen for you and then leave it at that. I mentioned the book writing. So I think the best way to get really famous is to write a book. Obehi has written several books on storytelling. That makes him the storytelling expert. Which when people want to talk to an expert, they will call him. Come and share your thoughts with us. Whether that's businesses, whether that's events, whether that's people who who have people want to hear about storytelling from an expert. Even the media might call him to come and talk about storytelling. So it's a privilege for us to get to listen to him. But once you write a book, you're an expert. It opens amazing doors because that's how you impact people. And if you want to write your book with your knowledge that people need to know, then I have a team of writers, writing coaches, editors, proofreaders, ghostwriters, essentially publishers will make your book dreams come true. And my part to help you sell the book or book marketing. So the last I was saying, if you've written a book that's not selling, then what a waste. The world must know about your book because you worked so hard to create that knowledge. So let's get your book selling. Now, for anyone who's here today, then my new service, which I'm very proud of, is that we have a service that will make anyone a best-selling author, whatever niche you've written your book in. So literally for a tiny fee, you literally get your book to become a bestseller and an international bestseller as well, if that's what you want instead. So if you want to become truly known for being a big expert, then let's talk about how we can make your book work for you. Just connect with me and let's talk properly. I see many of my good friends in the audience. I see Paul's here. Brett, I see you too, my friend. As I mentioned, Lanray said, Dr. Ola, I see you. Deborah, how you doing, Deborah? It's great to have in our rooms. Deborah is a big expert in her field. She's won awards. That's how she's an expert in what she does. She's a disability rights specialist. I'm truly passionate about what she does, and she does it on a truly huge scale. So, and I have a passion for people with disabilities because their voice is curtailed. People like Deborah make it happen for them to actually have a voice and better services. I'm always, someone who does that sort of work. I see Dr. Ola is in the audience as well. Dr. Ola, MD. She's my new, my new star, so to speak. Now, we did an audio room on Saturday. Talk about women's health and wellness, well-being, fitness, health in general. If you want to know how to get healthy in simple ways, Dr. Ola is the person to connect with. I also see you, Nick. How you doing, Nicola? So Nicola is one of my faith-based friends. We do an audio room on faith. I see Alison. Alison's writing a book. I could talk about so many people in the room. Now, Jackie Holberg's here. How you doing, Jackie? Thank you so much for joining us again, as always. I see Dylan. I see you, Jay. Thank you so much. So these are all people with amazing stories. If I've missed you out, please, and I can't mention everyone. Miss Kim, I have to mention you because you are you're doing the work to get African children to understand the importance of STEM and trying to get more people into the STEM subjects. And for that, I'm truly in awe of what you do. Yeah, I could talk on. Obehi, do I keep quiet now or do I go into the topic?
Well, we never tell you to keep quiet. But anyway, for the topic, we'll come to that later.
Okay,
Let's first
I'll
of
keep
all
quiet then.
allow. In our tradition, you can never say that, though. That would not be a good thing to say, of course. All right. Thank you so much for your contribution, Annie. You are super. You are the backbone behind what you are doing here. So we really appreciate for that and for everything that the people don't see. Thank you so much for that. All right, Hannah, it's your turn. Tell the people who you are and how they can benefit from your service.
Thank you so much, Obehi. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon from here. I'm Nigerian, just like majority of us up here. My name is Hannah Idachova. I am in the capital city, Abuja, at the moment. It's really sunny. Maybe comment on how the weather is like where you're at. But it's really sunny today. Thank goodness. But my name is Hannah Idachova. I am a brand storyteller and content writer. As somebody who worked in the marketing department and has worked in advertising, I'll tell you for a fact that storytelling, I saw the benefit of storytelling just by working in the several industries that I worked in. And one thing that I'll say is I, from a long time, realized the power that is storytelling. And that's what really led me into doing what I'm doing today, which is using stories to help brands change the mundane sort of rather boring content types that they have out there, and adding storytelling to, the content mix, and seeing how that changes the trajectory of a lot of companies and brands and even people. And that's what brings me joy, really, is including that and seeing how people's lives change for the better and seeing how people's businesses change for the better. You can call me the story meister, but story is what I live and breathe. So therefore, events like this are very close to my heart because it's talking about what I really love to do. um, I'm really interested and excited to hear what everyone has to say, but I'll be coming back, just like Obehi said. But feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in working with a content writer and content strategist, because that's what I use storytelling to do, to create a mix that is able to attract, connect, and most importantly, convert, because you want to get money, right? So that's what I do for clients. Over to you, Obehi, and thank you once again, everyone, for being here.
Thank you so much, dear Hannah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Of course, yeah, the last word you said there is vital. Convert. That is powerful. In fact, yeah, that is why we use story, because that is a difference between using story for business and the story that you tell maybe in the evening. The moonlight story. Anyway, this is a different type of story. Anyway, all right. Abibola is our another important co-host here. Abibola, please tell them who you are, and then of course we'll be moving into the conversation of today. Please go on.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you might be listening from. My name is Abimbola Olaniyi. I'm all the way from Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian living in Nigeria. So I'm a content marketer, and what I do is basically help business owners to get visibility for their business, create awareness, and attract the ideal customers with the use of high compelling quality content. And I also make use of storytelling to help businesses tell their stories in order to convert their audience, as in relate something. You tell your story in a way that resonates with your audience. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Abibola. I appreciate that. I really appreciate all of you that are here. And I want to thank my co-host for the time, for the organization, for the event that is taking place today. But this is not thanks to my effort alone. It's thanks to the effort of people who are working behind the scene, who we do not see. So I really want to appreciate your contribution and your consistency, most importantly. I thank you for that. Now, I remind the people in the audience that any of the 5 parts or the entire 5-part book series are available on Amazon if you want to get a copy for yourself and read, because there is no way I'm going to be able to explain to you more than 1 million words that is the content of the book just now in this short period of time that we have here. So the best way for you to be able to understand the background, my background, and why I wrote that book and what is the content of the book is for you to get a copy for yourself and read. And of course, you can even get them to read for as little as $3. Yeah, so it doesn't really cost much in that sense. And of course, do let me know what you think at the end of the day. All right, the most interesting part of the conversation is now, which is the Q&A, where people begin to share their idea about the topic. So let's start with Juan Frank. Please, would you say anything about the conversation that we have today? Thank you for joining us.
All right, greetings everyone. Frank here. It's quite interesting about storytelling because when I get started with storytelling, it's just from storytelling to my friends and just people around to actually turn to storytelling on LinkedIn. And at first, my purpose of storytelling is just uh, I want to help my friends that used to have the same you know scenarios that I could share the stories that I have overcome, and just want to share what I've been through, so just help them. And when on LinkedIn, I'm having seen a lot of storytelling engagement. It's so powerful, and and I realized that so storytelling it's a skill set that we all need to learn, and because it's so powerful in terms of transformations and to inspire or to motivate anyone. And I think for me, storytelling is just to share how to we could share the stories that could resonate with the people, and it's amazing. And I'm not, I'm not I think I'm just getting started. I'm not I haven't done any content writer to any companies, but I think, from a person who gets started from small, like from fellow friends to speaking here, um, I could say that storytelling, it's the gate to for transformations, and I hugely believe in that. And for me, by telling the stories that not only could touches their heart, but also could help them to overcome what what the person is listening to storytelling is struggling with, or there are things that they could not overcome, just by sharing stories that could touches their heart. And I think that's the power of storytelling, to help, or to inspire. I think that's the most important, because we live in society where a lot of people that needs to be heard, because I felt the same. I want myself to be heard. And yeah, and I really love the topic today about storytelling. And I want to see others' opinions as well. But for me, a person of simplicity and just the one who just getting started with fellow friends and family, I could say that it's really powerful. Because of storytelling, I have reconnected with a lot of my friends. Because of storytelling, I have reconnected with my families. And with storytelling, I could, you know, the it's not about impossible, but I'm possible to make things that possible, just by telling the meaningful stories and powerful stories. Yes, that's all I want to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kwan. And I love that you're sharing your personal journey with storytelling. It warms my heart so much to hear, people come and share what they've been able to take away from storytelling. And so it's so heartwarming that you're saying you were able to reconnect with your friends and all of that. That's just warms my heart. I would be introducing the next speaker. On my screen is showing Paulette. Hi, Paulette. Over to you. What do you have for us today?
Hi, I'm Paulette Hallam. I'm in the UK, and for once the sun is shining. So this could be our summer. This day could be our summer. Um, so on this day, I'd like to share this story with you. I personally believe that storytelling is opportunity. It's an opportunity to take something out of your heart that's hurting, to take something out of your head that's hurting, and to take something off the table that you didn't know how to deal with. And by using storytelling, what you're doing is you're giving everybody an opportunity to buy in and align themselves, because they will remember a time when that said same thing happened to them, or they remember those feelings, or they know somebody else who felt that way. And they will also be able to say to themselves, at some point, I might feel that way. So even if you haven't experienced those emotions today, there could be a time when you might be experiencing them. And so, what storytelling does is it doesn't just align you to the situation you're currently in, it aligns you to a situation where you are looking out the bigger picture. So, when you're talking about advertising and advertorials and marketing people, and you're marketing their story, you're marketing the things that are marketable about them. If they had, for example, some history that wasn't so kind or comfortable, that would be the bit you'd bury. But you look at the part that's very attractive and very interesting and very honest and authentic about the person, and what they did in their youth can be forgiven and forgotten. Now, what I believe in is, with my storytelling, is my son's stories. I don't actually really tell my stories because they're probably in a deep, dark vault somewhere back of my head. But I didn't have the best start. But my son is my world, as anyone who knows me will know. But also my son's autistic, and we had a very difficult early few years where I was being told he'll be nonverbal, he will be having to go to a special school, he will not be able to make friends, he will not be. It was he will always not, he will this, he will that. And I went, well, we'll see about that. Okay, let's just see where his development takes him before we decide to put all the boundaries in place. So my part of storytelling has come from seeing this amazing child bloom. And yes, we've had horrendous days. And yes, we've had some really dark times. And you know what? When you come out of them, it gives you this breadth of knowledge. Yes, I'm a qualified counselor. Yes, I've got psychology, sociology. I've got all of the maths, the economic. I've got all of the qualifications in the world. But it doesn't tell you what to do when your child says they don't want to be here anymore. That's a whole new skill set. And that comes from a part of your heart you didn't even know you had. You dig deep and you find it. And then when you found it, you've given them their reason and their why, you can then go forward to show other children and other parents how to know when these things happen and how to deal with it. So my storytelling is impassioned, compassionate, caring. It's about giving the kids their inner voice to speak to themselves and say, I have a problem. I don't know how to handle it. What should I do? And your inner voice will tell you, this is too big for us. We need to go to a grown up, right? And that's my messaging. My whole messaging is about children listening to their inner voice and knowing when things are getting too much for them and knowing that's the time to ask for help. And so that's storytelling to me, raw, heartfelt, but it's so empowering. And if you can hear it in my voice, I hope you can, because believe you me, there may be somebody out there who you may know or you might have thought you knew, and they will need you to be able to remember this conversation that you had with me, where you heard someone say they need to find their inner voice. So please, that's all I ask of you from my storytelling, is remember that. Remember that lesson today. It's a story based on a story that was a real life story. And that is what you connect to. Thank you.
No, thank you, Paulette. Such wonderful contributions. I am so touched by your story. And two things that you said stood out for me. The first one being storytelling is an opportunity to align yourself with people who understand your story. And the second thing is how our stories are bigger than us. I hope that we're able to pick stuff from what Paulette has just said today, because I took so much from what you said. Thank you so much for sharing once again. I would now be yielding the mic to Dr. Rastafa, if I'm pronouncing it well. Hi, Dr. Rastafa. Hi, how are you? What do you have for us today?
Hello. Yes, Dr. Ross is fine. I hope everyone's doing well. Um, Thank you for having me. Good, well, Monday morning from my side, Monday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at. Yeah, I just wanted to mention briefly and hopefully clearly and concisely that most things that we remember because it's told in a story format. Telling a story is pretty simple. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. If you can perfect that in your speak, whether you're having an elevated speech, a 5-minute speech, a 1 hour talk, or you're talking for 24 hours, If you just remember the formula of beginning, middle, end, remember where you're at and that you're taking your audience on a ride. Yeah, it's a great way to just view conversation, even just to enter in a conversation with the individual. Think about the beginning, middle, and end. Or you can reverse engineer. Think about what you want the outcome to be, and then you build the middle of that, and then the middle and the beginning of that, right? Where to start. But just my point is beginning, middle, end. Those are the greatest stories. If you can break it down to that simple, no matter what you're talking about, it's easy to remember. One, two, three.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. We appreciate that, Dr. Rastafa. Thank you. All right, before we move on, I think maybe Annie would like to say something. Maybe want to welcome more people. Annie, is there any reflection you want to leave with us before I introduce other persons?
I love the share so far. I think the importance of storytelling is what's coming through loud and clear. And learning how to use stories is everything. I think I love our first speakers, Frank's point that we'll start off somewhere, and we can all learn. That's the point of this audio room. That's the point of Obehi's books. We need to learn how to tell stories. And of course, sometimes storytelling is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Simple means it's doable. Just by learning how to actually do it, that will become second nature to us, as you mentioned over here. There's lots of mentions, lot of welcomes for me to do, so please bear with me. Let me try. So Janet, I see you. Tulilope, how you doing? Tulilope is doing an audio room on relationship counseling, family matters we call it. So connect with her. She suddenly disappeared off my screen. Shivanka, welcome, my friend Christine, Platine, Kareem, John, I see you. Welcome, all of you. So, Ojogbane, Judith, Amal, Abdul Jalili, Hamlata, I see you, Clive. Welcome, all of you. Look, the point of mentioning other people, my friends, is that, connect with people around you. I see Nana's here as well. Brandon's here too. Opeyemi, Natalia. So please connect with people around you because it's a good chance to network. Who needs to hear your story? Whose story do you need to hear? And I heard everything works together. We're not just talking about stories as if it's something alien to any of us. We need to hear each other's stories and to learn from each other. We need to support each other. And by connecting, can we do any of those things at all? So let's build relationships. Let's get talking and let's start sharing our stories. I could carry on for a bit, but I give my back to you for now, Obehi, because there's too many to mention. But I'll come back to it again as time goes.
All right. Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you. I appreciate that. See, this room, particularly today, is really emotional for me. In that, while we are doing this a room on business storytelling, okay, storytelling related to business, there is another part that is sometimes even deeper sometimes, which have to do with another aspect of this storytelling series that we have not been leveraging enough, which is the diaspora storytelling. It is not our conversation today, but we'll come back to that. We'll come to that because we have a separate room for that we are developing. You see, the idea that we could actually take the time out like this to talk and to listen to our story, to hear one another, I want us not to take that for granted. That is a powerful sacrifice that we are making. Our story is important. It is important not just for the purpose of conversion, not just for the purpose of helping you to earn money. There is also a psychological aspect of you able to tell your story. In my place, it is said that, okay, not only in my place, everywhere, that a problem shared is a problem half solved. Because if something is worrying you, which is a problem that is particularly prevalent among many people in the African diaspora, because we are alone in many instances, if this problem is left with you alone, you do not share it with anybody, you do not talk to anybody, there is more likelihood of that problem weigh you down that when you have the possibility of able to express this problem to another person, share it with that person. It literally means that sharing. When you tell somebody what you are going through, you are sharing. The person is helping you to carry part of the burden. Storytelling helps us to do that. And in our community, in our demography, we are going to have to leverage this awesome power of storytelling. So I really want to thank all of you, my co-hosts, people that are here in the audience, and those that are here in the room about to speak. I am not taking you for granted. I really thank all of you for your presence and for your contribution.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. It is Mba Romy. That is my name. Yes. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk. I've been on these events from time to time, and this is about maybe the fifth time attending some of the events on storytelling because it aligns with what I do. Yes, I am an ideation expert, a brand marketing strategist, and I'm into storytelling with experience of 7 years, production of music, movies, marketing scripts for businesses to showcase brands through storytelling. And what I have today, based on the points you've noted about storytelling, the importance of storytelling is to make you understand your audience. Tell stories that are solving problems, addressing problems, not because you just want to sell or just want to sell a product. You want to get your clients resonate with you, see themselves into the problems you're solving through the stories you tell to motivate them, touch their emotions. Yes, because no matter how good your product is, if you cannot tell a good story that can back that product, you cannot sell, you cannot capture your audience. People remember your product through the stories you tell. A good story that is told, maybe you're doing a marketing a commercial for real estate. If you tell a good story on how a happy family can be, then you're going to capture a lot of audience because you touch the emotions. You remind people that it is time to build your home through your story. You make more money through storytelling. So I'm more focused on the storytelling side of marketing because that is where you get to engage with your clients. Coupled to what our one of our leaders there said, Hannah, if I can pronounce her name well. Yes, and she was so profound and so open, and she has the experts that we need in this line of specialty, storytelling. And I'm also good with script writing for stories. We work on voiceover for stories, and I'm happy to be here. And if you want to connect with me to know more, and I'm very open. And talking about the action, what is the purpose of the call to action for storytelling? That is to create an urgent attachment with your brand, to subscribe with your brand, driving the audience to take a direction towards implementing what the story is talking about, and creating urgency. That is the purpose for call to action for a story. Because if a story ends without a call to action, then you have wasted a lot of time because it has to do with you marketing or selling a particular talent or a product or services, yeah, to solve a problem in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. All right, I think it's time for Dr. Marcia. Dr. Marcia, please share with us about storytelling.
Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon for some persons. I am particularly interested in this topic because I tell stories of children. That was the first set of books that I published as an author. And it's a series. And so we tell children's stories through adventures of language arts. So they use these books in schools, and they disadvantaged schools in Jamaica, and they look at their stories and become empowered. I am saying this to say that is the context in which I will now speak. I am putting out a story for leaders, beginning and seasoned leaders now, that talks about them overcoming and striving as leaders in their space. And so I look at stories, and I look at how we acquire stories. There is nobody in life, regardless of your attributes, your connections, wherever you are, that does not get stories from our experiences, our pains, our sorrows, our joys, and so on. And so our stories are embedded in us. They are given to us for a reason. And because I am Christian based and I'm a believer in God and that He directs my step, I believe that these stories are orchestrated to carry us through. But some of us resonate with our stories in the wrong way. And so we are not able to tell it effectively, whether through our business, life stories, and so on. And because we carry so much wounds and emotional oddities from our stories, that we begin to exalt them and establish them as gods in our lives instead of teachers, and they remain there in an exalted position, and we bow down and submit our destiny to some of these stories instead of controlling and manipulating our stories to our best advantage. And for that reason, if we crown our stories, we begin to enable them to become indicators of our destiny, because we do not submit ourselves to our stories, but we submit our stories to us. A lot of persons, a lot of us are walking blindly. We are not walking in enough light to cast a kind of shadow that causes others to be healed by our stories, because we ourselves are not healed by our stories. And so our stories must enable us. Our itinerary when we tell our stories may carry us from audience to audience, but the real and true effect of our stories in business and life applications carry us from age to age. We are able to tell the story in a different way. When we want to appeal to our audience, and I'm putting my answers together based on the questions that I remember from UOB, when we are speaking to our audience, we know when to tell and the right stories to tell and the parts of our stories to tell that we select from our experiences that heals. If we are doing it for information, for overcoming, it is healing. If we are doing it to give pleasure, it is healing. If we are giving it to persuade, it is healing, because we are choosing the right parts of our stories that says to people, you are born and equipped, you can do anything, but you are not born to do everything. So you are given the ability to do anything, but you are not born to do everything. And so your stories equip people to understand that the parts that you are born to do, you deliver them confidently, you deliver them well, you deliver them excitedly, passionately, you deliver your stories as an overcomer that is pointing people to the light of healing and their overcoming. You tell the story that is appropriate and relevant. You tell the story that is current. So you select the parts of your story that heal and empower, and you leave those parts for the right audience, for the right place, for the right time. In that way, our stories continue to engage the right people at the right time, and no parts of our story is discarded. What our stories are and what they become in this context is intentional. So they serve people, they empower people, they heal people, they change people's lives, and they change their outcomes. When we tell our stories in that way, we grow, and our struggles enrich us and instead of limit us, and we open the door for opportunity and growth, adaptation and flexibility, and we are relevant at every age.
Wow, thank you so much, Lady Marcia. That was really insightful. Like you said, it's important to know your audience in order to be able to tell that part of your story that is appropriate in healing and empowering them. Thank you so much. And right now, I'll be yielding the mic over to Vanessa. Please unmute your mic and
Hi,
let's have you. Thank you.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I first want to thank you for such a great opportunity to share with such a wonderful audience. For sake of clarity, I just want to precise I'm a French Caribbean woman. So in case I have any lack of vocabulary, please forgive me. Um, I wanted to take that opportunity to share about that topic I love particularly. I heard so many interesting and interactive, um, testimony, and I thank you about that. I just wanted to tell you I'm kind of coach. I help introvert women to find their life purpose and the uh, unique value added, and then to tell it, and finally to attract their ideal customers. So for me, storytelling is a very holistic approach. For me, before a tool, that's a function. I'm deeply convinced that's a function every human being have. And I think sometimes because of life, because of difficulties we had to face, maybe we forget we have naturally that function. For me, to be able to tell our own story is first a way to that's a great opportunity of self-awareness, and I'm convinced the more you know yourself, the better you talk to people. Secondly, I want to say storytelling is something which makes you very approachable and makes the understanding very clear. So that maybe people who want their coming to talk to you realize, oh, me too. Oh, I didn't think I could share about that. I thought I was the only one living that. So for me, that's very nice for that. It makes people self-confident, even if I'm deeply convinced it's not necessary to be self-confident to begin anything in your life. To finish, and maybe the third and the last point I wanted to share with you today is that storytelling make the understanding of what you say maybe clearer. Because as sometimes you see in holy books, as Bible or Quran or any other book, it gives you pictures so that you can imagine and you can approach it to your own situation where you are. So that's a way for each one to know himself or herself better and to connect better with people. So that when you discuss about anything, even maybe in management, you can agree about what we are talking about because we all know your brain, your mindset is always personal. What you think, what you believe is what you lived, what you imagine. So sometimes it can make the reciprocal understanding very complicated. And I just want to add one last point. Sorry. I want to say for coach, storytelling is a very good opportunity because it gives you the opportunity to show your future customer the road, your method, the way you will drive him or her from one point to another point. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you for your understanding.
Thank you, Vanessa. That was insightful. Thank you so much. Yes, storytelling helps to convey our message more clearly. Thank you for that. And right now, I'm going to yield the mic over to Nancy. Please let's have your share.
Good morning. I'm in northern Alberta, Canada, and it's early morning. It's a little cold, but it's sunny, and very thankful to be here and listening to everyone talk. And I see Mr. Annie there, one of my favorite people in the world, and Ambolia. I'm sorry if I impronounce your name.
It's
He's nice.
Abimbola. You tried. Thank you.
She's a sweet lady I see all over the place too. My new sister, and very thankful, Paulette, and I know there's many others in the audience, and the wonderful host there for the invitation. And I just want to say that this whole thing about storytelling, it is very powerful. And before there was television or phones or media. People used to sit around and tell stories, and that's how you pass your message and your history and your culture and languages. And that thing about branding, finding out who you are and what your purpose is and what you can share for others. And I believe for myself, it's in my message. I have many different social medias, and my message is always the same. The content's always the same. But as Dr. Marcia said, you can't always tell the whole story, but there's sections of the story that might benefit people at different times or different events or different, wherever it may be. So if you keep true to your story, you keep true to your values, your beliefs, you put it into your work, you put it out for your customers. I believe that that story is what resonates you to the world. It helps you make connections and it helps other people, say, hey, that happened to me, or I can learn from this, or move forward. So I thank you very much. It's an awesome topic. And I agree with you 100%. Stories are something that will be around long after we're no longer here to share them. So get your story out there. As Annie said, it's super important. Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
that.
so
Yeah, yeah,
much.
okay, go on.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nancy. I enjoyed your share. And thank you for being here today. On my screen, I see Nicola. Hi, Nicola. I'm going to be yielding the mic to you. How are you?
Hi, Hannah. Thank you. I'm just sitting here listening at your at everybody's takes or perspectives, and when you're really present, you can actually you can connect on a different level and actually hear. Read between the lines of what somebody's saying. I went to evening church yesterday. I'm a Christian too, Dr. Marcia. I just resonated with what she was saying because, and I've also got in my mind what I want to say, but I realize if I take that out, then I'm able to listen to what other people are saying more. And last night I got the opportunity to listen to a guy called Mike and a lady called Jazz, and they're a married couple. One works in the prisons and one is a therapist, and the other one works in London as a sound engineer in the West End. So quite fascinating jobs, and they were quite fascinating people as well. And they spoke about prophecy, and this is something that stems in all of our histories. It's a part of the main story, and I think it gets forgotten. I think that our lives are so contrastingly different from each other and from parts of history that we forget to connect to our true roots. And obviously we're stemming back more than 2,000 years, and we are stemming back more than 4,000 or 5,000 years, but there is only kind of recordings, and I've only dabbled. I've spent years worth of my time reading the Bible, but when you start to unpick different types of testimony, or the Old Testament, the New Testament, and various different types of religions, it's never ending. It's way more than one person, and it's way more than the population that we have now today. And it's quite incredible that that we are able to appreciate how we're made, connection to our senses, connection to other people, connection to the world, connection to what's beyond the world. And do we ever really think, and is one person's perspective going to be enough to go to the next part? We've only got um, what we've been told in the story, and also how we perceive things ourselves. And if we're not, and is anybody or everybody running on optimal, full capacity all of the time? I know I'm not. and I don't even know whether it's humanly possible. Everybody's in any one sense has got maybe slight negatives, many more positives, but maybe slight negatives. No one's ever a full picture. Um, so we're all crackpots, in my mind. Um, but the what I digress. What I really want to say is that the real story, I think, is getting forgotten, and I'm not fully certain, whether it's because it's stuff that we don't want to hear, and it's probably stuff that we don't want to listen to. But sometimes we might need to keep repeating the patterns and learn a better way forward. And with that, I'm going to yield the mic. Thank you for listening.
That's really very interesting. That's interesting, Nicola. That's really very interesting. I appreciate that. All right. I just want to remind everybody before I invite the next person to speak that the question that we have actually put out there is sort of, anyway, they are only a guide. They are not like respond to them specifically, but they're sort of a guide, because the conversation for today is how to increase audience engagement. It could be like for some of you there, if you would like to share how you increase your audience engagement, it will be interesting, because many people come here also try to learn about that. For those that want to learn, so I'm encouraging those who are sharing, if they could look for a way to also increase that more, it will be very helpful for the people that are listening. So I want to thank all of you for your contribution. And I also thank my co-host for the wonderful work that you are doing. I really appreciate it. All right, I think Mr. Izu has not spoken. Could you please say something about the conversation that we have today?
All right. I'd like to say hello to all the beautiful souls in this room this moment. In case you've not met me before, my name is Izu Samuel. I, in the past decade ago, I've been helping people to understand what storytelling is not. So that being said, in order to chime into this topic, and I see my very good friend, Mr. Annie, here. Just hello to you, my friend. I see Hannah. Hello to you. I see all the beautiful people here, right? So I love you all. So the first thing I'm gonna say here, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Hmm, hmm, hmm. In 1209, there was a book which was documented, a material which was documented on the concept and the equivocacies of storytelling. This book was exported from Africa to the rest of the world, from Egypt to Namibia. So it was a very extensive material which was, developed at the time and then exported to the rest of the world. And part of my research and being an investigative person, so I got the material. And one of the things that really shocked me about this material on storytelling is that many of us are getting the concept of storytelling wrong. Now, storytelling is not a message. Storytelling is not a message. Storytelling is the oldest product in the world. You know the way you go buy this SUV, you buy a bottle of water, the 5 stars hotel. You get the way you go buy a house, the way you go buy a new clothes. That is exactly what storytelling is. Storytelling is a product, and I know most of us will be hearing this for the first time, but that is what storytelling is about. And one of the ways upon which I engage my audience, and I don't have all the time to explain all that, but then I'm just going to add a little bit of value to it, and then I use the mic. Now, one of the ways I engage my audience when I speak to my audience is that I use the concept called concept story why, concept story why. And what that means is very simple. I utilize 75.14% of my time to present the concept of a product in the form of a story to my audience. So, for instance, if you call me to speak on public speaking, I want to approach public speaking from the angle of what led me into public speaking, as opposed to coming to train you on public speaking with tips and tricks. So, I want to tell you how and what brought me into public speaking. So, that is the concept of storytelling. Why? And the other concept is the concept of VIIV. VIIV. What that means in storytelling is this, that for every story you want to relate to people in the form of a product, there is what is called resolution. And there can't be a credible story, there can't be an inspirational story without the concept of credence, without the concept of resolution instead. So that is the concept of VIIV, the resolution. What is the resolution of that story? What is the resolution of that product? So if I want to buy SUV, why do I need an SUV in a place that doesn't have good roads? Why do I need um, to live in a duplex in a place that can provide me with complete 24 hours electricity in the next couple of 2 years without tripping my light? So you ask yourself, what is the resolution? If your story doesn't have a resolution, it means you are trying to sell a product to people that doesn't have a value. So the resolution is what drives the market, is what drives the connection. And remember, I always tell people that we complicate things about storytelling a lot. And the reason we do this is because we have not really understood that there is nothing you can call a product that is older than story itself. So all the products across the globe from that material, from the 1209 material I saw, every product, the iPhones, the houses, the Mercedes, the name any product you want to talk about, they are not older than the product called storytelling. So when you approach storytelling from the angle of being a product, as opposed to seeing it from the angle of you want to pass a message, you're just going to get the message complicated. Finally, Les Brown was delivering a story about his cancer experience. He was in pain, he was in tears. He said to them, ladies and gentlemen, as I speak to you from here, I am in total pains. Like I could feel the pains. He groaned. Like you could literally feel, when someone who is in pains is speaking, you feel it. And he said, well, if I could deliver this information, this product to you people on confidence from my experience being in the state, none of you here should ever have any reason not to communicate their experiences to the world. Did you see how he sold a product effortlessly? So he sold that product from his heart as opposed to selling a product from your head. What many marketing agencies will teach you is sell a product from your head, cram a speech, write a cold email, get to call people, sound like you are in Canada. Even if you are in Canada, I'm an African man. Anywhere I go to, I'm an African man. So do this, do that. And man, at the end of the day, people keep getting disconnected from the concept of what storytelling is about. So relating that product or relating to the people you're speaking to from a place of heart, as opposed to relating from a place of hurt, builds the connection. Three things I have shared here. The first, storytelling is not a message. Storytelling is a product. The second thing here is this, ladies and gentlemen, is when you are sharing a story, share a story from your heart and not from your head. And the final thing I'm going to say here, I've always said here, is that there is no story that is going to impact people and leave a lasting impression in lives of people that doesn't have what is called resolution. If that story doesn't have a resolution, get a coach, get a mentor, speak to a professional to ensure that your story is well developed. At that point, you can understand what you're telling the story and why people should connect to you as you relate the product to people. My name is Izu Samuel. I'm so sorry I took all the time, and I yield the mic to you, my friend Obehi. Much love.
Thank you, dear.
Izu.
Thank you so much. Yeah, continue, Hannah.
Alrighty. I would be passing the mic to C. Michael. Hi, C. Michael. How are you today?
Hey, good afternoon, and thank you so kindly. I want to say greetings to all that's on the line this afternoon. I didn't really realize I was on the stage. I was wondering if you called me already. I just looked at the phone and noticed that I was on there, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm wondering if you called me already." But thank you. I've been listening for a little bit here, and I see that um, very interesting thoughts that have been passed back and forth, and the topic is a very interesting one at the same time. And many people have said some pretty good things. And just to add just a little bit, I'm going to be brief and pass the mic on. One of the things that I was looking at, if you look back at the Bible, for those that are acquainted and associated with it, you see that Jesus, he spoke in parables most of the time. And he painted a picture and told a little story, something that individuals can identify with. And that's a good thing about a story. People can identify with a story. And what it does, it engages individuals to use your imagination. And that is the most powerful tool that anybody can use. If you could get somebody to use their imagination to see you, to follow you, you lead them to where you want to go and let them just imagine. You're, first of all, engaging an individual's most powerful tool, which is the power of imagination. Because everything that we can see in this world came about by our imaginations. And it's the whole world basically is our imagination, as they say, objectified. It's first started with a thought, an idea, and then it came into being. And that's what it's all about. So once we can engage somebody's imagination, just like Nike, you think about all the marketers out there. You put that thought in their mind, and people begin to think and see themselves. And that's why they've sold so many and continue to be number one. So storytelling engages imagination. And if we can engage somebody's imagination, we're engaging their most powerful asset. Thank you. Yield the mic back to you.
Thank you so much, C. Michael. It was anything that I found really fascinating in today's share is the talk about the Bible. As a Christian myself as well, I'll share how just reading stories in the Bible was really what made going to Sunday school really tolerable. If anybody can agree, and so that plays a huge role in storytelling. I think that my mind just became open to how the Bible really uses stories. Um, but thank you so much once again, C. Michael. I will now, for the purpose of today's conversation, be passing the mic on to Jay. I think it's Jay Pascal. Hi, Jay. How are you today?
Hi, everybody, and thank you for handing the mic to me. I appreciate it. I wanted to talk about storytelling, and everybody had really good gems today. One of the things I want to say is, so we talk about storytelling as a product. So let me kind of look at that in this sense. So storytelling to me is a vessel, right? A vessel that holds that message, and so that vessel can be passed from person to person, and a vessel can be passed to many people at one time, right? And in this vessel, you have to have an opening, and then the vessel has to have a big enough circumference to hold volume, and then at the bottom is the base. So beginning, middle, and end, and that base brings all of that together in this vessel. If you don't build the vessel properly, then the message is lost when you hand it to somebody else. That's the way I view it physically. But storytelling to me, it's embedded in my DNA. Culturally, there are a lot of indigenous populations across the world that did not have a written language. So storytelling was important to pass down not only knowledge, but also legacy, right? Cultural practices. Um, and survival practices. So it was very important for the survival of all kinds of populations across the world. And so this is to me very important. Storytelling is exactly what was said. It goes back to the dawn of civilization, and so I definitely resonate with that. And so for me in my personal life, journalism was my introduction to storytelling to the masses, right? So journalism at its core is supposed to inform. right? And so that's how I learned the mechanics of storytelling to pass on a message that informs people. When I grew in that career and I became a business editor, I switched over to marketing. And so on the marketing side of things, I saw what now I term to be story selling, right? So you take these stories and it allows people to find services or products based on what you're able to convey to people and in a short amount of time emotionally. Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about is passion. And so as a poet, this is a different aspect, right? I'm a poet. I want to share my passion with the world. And so I write these sonnets and I write these chants and I write these poems so that people can connect on an emotional level with what I'm trying to convey, the message, that vessel I'm trying to pass on to somebody. And now, lastly, as a consultant and a coach, because of my personal experience as a survivor of a tornado, I can talk about empathy and resilience through my personal story to executives in business. So, taking these different aspects of my survivor story, I'm able to convey this vessel, this message to folks that may not even have experienced struggle in their life in that sense, to experience a disaster of epic proportions. But they know struggle from their personal perspectives. And so to meld those two messages together, it helps to bring that message to bear. And so from all these different angles, I'm able, I think, to convey that vessel and pass that vessel to another person. And so I thought I'd bring that to the room.
Thank you so much for that. That is highly valuable. As I'm looking at the vessel, if I can see it, it looks like uh, something that is going to be shared by the entire community. Now, look, have a picture of the United Nations in mind, where everybody is sitting down and listening to a conversation. One time, I was making a reference of, actually, I was making a reflection and looking at the how it structured that conversation, which is also a kind of a resemblance in most places of what we have in most of our national assemblies. Now, what I did with that is that where my idea came for that was I remember my village where I grew up. I often say I grew up in a village, and that helped me to understand the basic setup of life. So I will never be missing. In one of my books, the amended the story, the stream water, I try to exemplify this by doing a storytelling where the name of the village and the name of the storyteller were more or less about the same. And somehow at the end, there was a tree under which every evening the children will come to gather around this individual and he will be telling them story. He tells them story every day. Of course, logically thinking, you will say, but after he have told a story for like 2 or 3 times, or okay, let's say a week, he would have finished to tell all the story. But what kind of story are you saying? Are you talking about? But the story have it that every day, every evening, he tells this story. Then what is he saying? So one of the anthropologists that reviewed the book here in Verona was saying, well, this actually made me remember where I'm coming from in Italy. Because this is a picture that I have. I can see it. And of course, the review that she did was sort of long, so I had to make a series of video on it. Then I presented the book in Padova. One of the best literary critics in Padova, his name is Adone Brandalese, make a reference of the book, of course, going back to ancient Greek. So what I'm trying to say here is that it is important. Storytelling is nothing at all that we can relegate by any yardstick. It is fundamental. It is something that takes us to the very beginning of our evolution. In fact, one person did say, I think I was reading it in the book, I forgot the name of the guy who wrote this book, that storytelling is probably what make our brain to develop the way it has developed. of course, linking it to the evolution of fire. That because the people could sit around and listen to each other, the idea of building a society become easy to evolve. Of course, these are other things that we cannot have the time to talk about today. So I want to thank all of you again for the time and for the sharing. I am so filled with joy. All right. I don't know if David Urbani have said anything. If you have not, please, it's your time. I don't want to steal the show. Please go on and say something. David Urbani, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Obehi, and special appreciation to everyone that has spoken before me. It has been a very insightful and a very thorough session. My name is David Obani, and I have worked with non-profit organizations for the past decade, helping them to fine-tune their stories and also to work around their communication. One of the things that I have come to understand when it comes to storytelling, and I'm trying to connect it with what Mr. Obehi said earlier when he made mention of us sharing some of our experiences with the work we do. One of the things that I've come to understand when it comes to storytelling, especially with nonprofits, is the consistency of stories. And when I mean consistency, I mean them being very intentional about the stories that they are sharing. And by these stories, I'm including storytelling for impact, storytelling for change, storytelling for influence. Now, my work with the nonprofit sector, it has opened my eyes and also enabled me to understand that when organizations are very intentional and very consistent with the stories that they put out there, it not only helps them to build their audience, but it also enables them to get the attention and get the assistance that they deserve. Now, let me share a typical example. I worked with a nonprofit that is into helping women in underserved communities through food intervention and helping them with their nutrition and all of that. At one point, we worked with healthcare professionals in primary healthcare centers, and these women in primary healthcare centers, I mean the healthcare professionals, they didn't have a nutritionist. So the NGO I was working with came in, provided a nutritionist for them, and also told them that when women and children come over to your healthcare center and they are not able to get the attention they need, we are here as an NGO to help to fill that gap, to provide them with nutrition, nutrition education, to help them with food supplies and all of that. Now, all of these activities were going on, but because this NGO was very intentional about the attraction, about the impact that they were making, they put these things out there on social media, and it helped them to get the assistance that they deserve. So it is the consistency for me and how they were also being very intentional about the stories that they were putting out there. So it was not just about telling the stories consistently, but also taking people through the journey. So when these women come to the primary healthcare centers, when these women come to the NGO, when they go out for an outreach, how their volunteers are interacting with the different communities in underserved residents, how they are making an impact in the lives of children, in the lives of families, how they are providing for these people. This is the consistency of the story. This is them taking the audience one step at a time with the impact of the work that they are making. So for me, storytelling and engaging your audience with it is something that is paramount, is something that I have seen that works over time, and is something that deserves the attention that it is getting. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for that. There is a good story that we are going to share later on, but just hold on. Usually we don't stay this long, but a good story reaching my ear that one person will share here. By the way, before we get there, I will introduce Mr. Kari Johnson, who is going to speak shortly. Don't be so long. Then after you, any want to make a small reflection. Then of course we'll carry on. We'll carry on. Mr. Karen, please go on.
Well, thank you guys. How are you guys all doing? I'm so glad that you guys got me here, brother. Hey, KareemAntonio.com, and I got some advice for them. I'm going to get really direct. I got a short amount of time, right? How to increase your audience engagement through storytelling. You said to speak to the Black American diaspora, but let me tell you, change your story is what I tell my clients. Change your story. Especially if you're Black American and you're watching this and you're from the diaspora, the best way, don't spend any money on ads. Don't spend any money on Facebook ads, YouTube ads. Completely go 100% organic. Don't upgrade your camera, but get your passport, get your plane ticket, go to places like Ghana and cut hair. Do your business. Teach a aerobics class. Get a gig with a wedding. Do your business. Change your story so that all of a sudden that engagement back home shoots through the roof because you've really changed yourself and people can see the world and see your life through you. I've been outside the States for 15 years running my business, and it changed everything for me. Just people being able to see that they can do business and they can do and you living your life around the world has changed a lot. And a lot of Black Americans don't realize usually the problem with engagement is your story is the same old story. The white guy held me down. I had a hard time. I went through it. My mother was this, my father was that, and I overcame. Now I'm rich. It's never, and I left America and I found my roots and my company. Now I'm cutting hair in Ghana. Now I'm cutting hair in the Philippines, or now I'm the chef in Mexico. We never really change our story. And one thing I love about you guys here, and I'm done, you guys are all over the world. A lot of Black Americans, their story, they have not left their cities. You guys are all from different countries and you travel and you do great business and you got great scale. Our folks back home, they need to change their story and their engagement's going to change for them too. And I just want to shout out to my people back home, give some advice for them.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That is so lovely. I appreciate it. All right, Mr. Annie, it's your turn. Please, your reflection on what is going on here.
Excellent. No, amazing shares, as always. No, how long are we? And there's still 70 or 80 of us in the room. That's amazing. Thank you so much for the audience and your time with us. So look, many things have been said, and it's easy to miss important points. I think, for me, I think the key message I've had so far is which our last speaker just mentioned. Kareem, and the one before that, Mr. David. The fact that your story draws attention to things in the audience's mind, the listener's mind, that you can, you might want them to think about over here. You might want to, there's different ways to tell stories, and that's come out today. There's different stories, different types of stories. You need to learn what those different types of stories are. Some stories are about making people happy. Some stories about your products, some about your services, how you help people. That's a master made a point. Some stories about bigger purpose. Of how you can overcome life challenges. How you can be a better person yourself. How you can truly experience healing. These are different types of stories, and each one has its place almost in the funnel. I love how Easy always says what he says, because it makes you think, what? Are you saying what I think you're saying? Of course it means what he's saying. But he always has a twist on what looks like a straight line, like an obvious point. And I love how he was, he always it makes us listen to his point of view, to his story, by saying something that's going to capture our attention and make us think, do I agree with that? I'm not sure I agree. And then soon you realize we agree after all. It makes perfect sense. I think learning the different types of stories, and also now this point about every story must have a resolution. In a business context, that is so important. I mean, that resolution is what determines your call to action. That resolution is what makes someone say, okay, I've heard enough. I think you can help me. I want to see more about what you're offering. Without that resolution, without that call to action, we can't just tell stories for the sake of telling stories. Otherwise, we're just wasting time. We need to turn stories into converting people to actually do business with us. That's the joy of storytelling, really. Before I give the mic back to you, Mr. Obehi, let me do some work on this. My last chance, I'm sure. I see Mr. Mike. How you doing, Mike? Always great to have you in our room. Sheba, Arthur, Samantha, Rissy, amazing Linda Gray's here. My superstar friend. I mean, superstar friend, really superstar friend. She's famous. I want to make you famous, as famous as she is. You know, I don't know what I'm talking about. Connect with Linda Gray. Talk to her. She's done amazing things as well these days. So find out who she is and see how you know, whether you can help her, whether she can help you, or just learn from her. Just be a friend. Chiesa, my sales and a genius in the room. Welcome, Chiesa. So Carol runs she runs an event where people come and tell their stories. They're real stories. You know, it's not 10 minutes, it's not 5 minutes. It's they get to talk on stage and share their real life stories from beginning. You know, what they actually want us to learn. And there, you know, there's all sorts of people there. You know, they captivate your attention every time. It's called Men Are From Mars. Da, 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 da. Right. Now, Carol's events are truly amazing. Ravi, I see you. Sandra, welcome. Dev, thanks so much for spending your time with us. Nana, I see you too. Nana is a mentoring queen all the way in Ghana. So welcome, Nana. Glad you're here. Cleophas, I see you. Victor, I'm moving my screen now. Memoline, will I pronounce your name properly? Jeffrey, Michael, Lisa, I see you changed your picture. Thanks for joining us. Eric, Evelyn, Roberta, Chikondi, Success, Kureva, I'm going to pronounce your name properly again. Favor, Lance, Azim, Jasmine, the amazing Martha. I cannot mention you, Martha. Martha, you know, one of my good friends on LinkedIn for sure. And she speaks for women's rights. You know, wherever she gets a chance to advocates for women, she's the one that definitely does the job. So now talk to these people, connect with people around you. Now, we're about to finish the room today, so use your chance now to connect. Azim, I see you. Pavitra, I see you. To Mohammed, welcome, my friend. And I know you know to Mohammed, so connect with people in the room. Roberta, I don't want to miss you out. And Keith, I always miss you when I go through my list. Denise, I see you too. So thank you so much, all of you, spending your time with us. It's been a true joy hearing from you. So I give the mic back to you, Obehi.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing for us. I appreciate the motivation that you are having in the community. This is not something to be taken lightly at all. And I really appreciate all of you that are here in the audience. Most of you, Annie, have already mentioned, and I like to do that very well. So this is something that we really appreciate also, and it's important. You see, storytelling, I don't want to repeat what has been said before. It's absolutely one of the most important things that we must learn in business. If we don't learn it, we are always going to struggle. Because if we know how to tell our story, there is no wall we cannot penetrate. Story is what sets, is what builds the wall. And story is what destroyed the wall. You see, at the end of Second World War, it is the story that we told that makes sure that those walls came down in Berlin. But guess what? How did those walls get built in the first place? It was also because of story. Do you know, I say this often, that the people that will later become the enemy in Germany, who will be massacred, who will be killed, many of them will be burnt and be put into gas chamber. Did you know that they were living with the people that will later do this to them as friends, as brothers, as co-workers, as people in the same neighborhood? Do you know that is the truth? Do you know that someday somebody decide to rewrite that story and your friend of yesterday became your enemy of today? What happened? What happened? That is the power of story. Story can help us to wipe out an entire generation. Do you remember the story that happened in Rwanda? Our journalists are in the room. They will tell us that two friends, just until yesterday, have been told that, no, that is not your friend. That is your enemy. Before you know it, the street is littered with blood, with dead bodies. But what if we can revise that to use the story to build something like our ancient ancestors have always done? By having a tree in front of them, everybody is dancing around it. We have our common purpose. For this reason, nobody is going to do harm to any member of the community because we have a common objective. Stories can help us to do. It can help us to build our community, not just for money alone, but it can also help us to destroy it. What do we have to do? The choice is us. The choice belongs to us. We can choose, and whatever we choose, it can be. But before we go, there is an important testimony that just came to my ear. And Izu, want to share something with us? I think it is important, in line with what we have discussed today, that at the end of the story, there need to be a call to action. If there is no call to action, if there is nothing that happened after the story, if we just go there and talk and talk and talk and we leave, it will not really serve any purpose. But his own story, a short one, is going to convince you about that. Izu, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, my friends. So whilst I was speaking here, I had over 18 followers, and then I got some messages, and I got this message from someone that says, Mr. Izu, in the past 7 years of being in the journal world, I have never ever thought that storytelling could mean a product. Please, I would like to come on a brief call with you. Would you like to send me your official links? So I sent two links, one for my private call and one that lands my basic and professional training. So this person um, I just got a notification and I had to mention it to the host of this room, Obehi. So the person just signed up for the course of about $900. So the reason I thought to share this with you people, I just mentioned it to Obehi and I said, no, if you can discuss this with your people, it's also important, is because any opportunity you have to share a story is an opportunity you have to share a product. Thank you very much, Obehi, and I'm glad and I'm looking forward to the best with the person and many other persons who will come along. Over to you, Mr. Obehi.
Thank you so much for that. At least I don't need to convince anybody. The story have convinced that storytelling works and it works almost all the time. So I thank my co-host. I thank the guests that have come to the room to share today. For the sake of time, we could have continued. In my podcast, Obehi podcast, sometimes we stay up to 3 hours because storytelling it can be like sugar. It can be like, it can get you drunk. But because of time constraint, we have said that we're going to spend 1 hour here and we have already overstayed that. So this is where we are going to be ending it today. I want to thank every one of you. Please come around again. We are here every 2 weeks. We are really interested and we are intentional about our storytelling. And we believe that it can really help us go a long way in our businesses. Please come around next time.